Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats, we're going to get started. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. There's an open table up here in the front, one in the middle. Okay, well, first, I just want to welcome you all here today. My name is Travis Stoutenborough. I'm the Chief Development Officer for the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering, and it is my honor and privilege to be here as we celebrate something extraordinary and something very special to the school. First, I want to start off by just thanking a couple of members of my team because they've thrown in a tremendous amount of work. I just want to thank Stephanie Lowry, Audra DeLong, Jessica Johnson, and Elizabeth Freeman for their hard work that they put into making this look as beautiful as it has, so thank you. So why are we here? I mean, we all have a little bit of an idea as to why we're here, but we're here to celebrate a lot of things. We had a celebration a couple weeks ago, and it continues on today. Today is, if you haven't heard, Purdue Day of Giving. If we haven't marketed that enough, let me make sure you know, it's Purdue Day of Giving. So what are we doing today? We're celebrating giving. Whether it's throughout the year, whether it's today, giving is something that's very special to the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering, and I think it's what differentiates us from a lot of our other peers, even here on campus. We are in the wing, the building that was solely funded with development dollars, with private dollars, the first building on campus to do so, leading into a trend of many other buildings on campus. There's a lot of firsts historically as it relates to philanthropy and chemical engineering, and today is just an added on to what our success and our tradition has been. We're celebrating the unveiling of another research area, and we're going to talk a little bit how this one is structured because it really is special, and it's something that I take tremendous pride in how it was established. But most of all, it's a celebration of two people who are committed to changing the world. Dr. Ramkrishna and his wife Geeta, they're visionary leaders. They are people who care about their family. They're people who understand the value of investing in higher education. They combined made this gift, and it is really something remarkable. So speaking of family, I want to take a quick minute to introduce the family members that have joined Dr. Ramkrishna and his wife Geeta today. And so as I introduce you, just please stand and wave. First we have Arvind Ramkrishna and his wife Usha. And we have their two sons, Rohan and Neil, if you could stand and wave. Unable to join us today was their son, Sriram, and his wife, which I don't have everything memorized, I apologize. Say it again, I want to say it correctly. Arti. Yes. So they are unable to be here, but we wish them well in spirit, and they're going to get to see a recording of me fumbling over names, and hopefully they can have a good laugh at that as well. Also joining us today are two special guests that I just want to acknowledge because they are a bigger part of today than they probably realize, and that is Chris and Kelly Dold. And so wherever you are, I'm going to ask you to stand and wave. They're right in the center. Just stand and wave. And I'll briefly tell you why. As this conversation moved forward, it was a conversation that involved Chris and Kelly, Dr. Kim, the school, myself, and the Ramkrishnas. And there was a lot of back and forth as to how this wanted to be structured. And there was even talk as to, was this really something they wanted to do? But the reason that they decided yes is because we found a way to be creative, and we found a way that fits their interests and their needs to support their family first and their Purdue family second. And it's just a remarkable way, and I'm going to tell you how it's set up. It's a gift that's going to come to realization through their estate. So it's a provision. It's going to set up trusts for opportunities that will support their family and the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering upon their departure of this world. It's one that is really going to change future generations. And if you don't know, Dr. Ramkrishna and his wife have been at Purdue for 47 years. They've already changed countless generations. But this one is going to change the future. It's an investment in mathematics and mathematical modeling. We all understand the value of mathematics and mathematical modeling and how it can help shape the research across the entire spectrum of chemical engineering. But one thing that we don't need a modeling for, because they've demonstrated it, is their marriage and their love for each other. And so I just appreciate you demonstrating that every time I see you, Dr. Krishna and Geeta. With that, I'm going to release their table first for lunch, and then we have a few other things planned after lunch. I hate to rush, but we have a special guest. President Cheng is going to be stopping by around noon, and when he gets here, regardless of where we are, we're going to have a short window. So eat quickly, and that would be helpful, or go through the line as quickly as possible. So thank you, and the Ramkrishna family, please go ahead and start us off at getting lunch.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Please continue. Please don't stop your lunch. Please continue to enjoy your lunch. My name is Arvind Raman. I am the John A. Edwardson Dean of Engineering here at Purdue. Fourth week on the job and counting. But I'm really thrilled to be here on this extraordinary event, celebrating the 47-year legacy of Ramki as a Purdue engineering faculty member. You know, when we look at the physical world around us, so much of it follows the laws that are best described by mathematical equations, partial differential equations to be precise. And yet, when Ramki started here, 1976, the entire computing power at Purdue Engineering probably would fit inside the palm of a hand in a smartphone today. And at that time, of course, it was really important to be able to find ways to compute without the computing power. And the importance of discretization methods, the importance of closed-form analytical solutions was really, really important as paving the way forward. And that's where a lot of Ramki's contributions really happened. A little note aside, 30 plus years ago, I'm kind of losing the count on the years, but I was a master's student here. And I was also, you know, amongst these people who did applied mathematics and nonlinear dynamics, you know, I thought it was pretty good. And my senior PhD students used to tell me, "Well, you think you're so smart? Just wait until you take the stochastic PDE class that Ramki taught." Then, do you remember that? And so, had I stayed for a PhD, I would have taken that class, right? But I went to the West Coast to this other institution that our president has asked that we try to beat. We will. But looking back at the importance of mathematical modeling, you know, I think Ramki and his students have really traversed the entire gamut of the importance of this field. Students working on it, researchers working on it, are not only solving these important problems, but they are really also learning and getting a lot of physical insight that honestly, I'm in the group that believes that artificial neural networks, black box approaches are just not going to provide the physical insight that's needed. And so when students, researchers work on these techniques from scratch, there's a lot of really important physical insight that's gained from it. I think a second important thing is really the elegance and beauty. Yes, there is beauty and elegance in mathematics. You can do closed-form analytical solutions, but you can do them elegantly. You can do discretization methods elegantly. So there is art and there is elegance in mathematical modeling as well. And the third dimension to this is, of course, the fact that when all this happens, students are also learning critical thinking and logic. When you make assumptions, whether it's steady state, what does steady state mean in the context of a stochastic differential equation? What does axisymmetry or any form of symmetry really mean or imply to what you're trying to solve? The critical thinking and logic that comes with this is also really, really important. So I think Ramki and his students' journey has been this journey of learning. And through the many years, the impact that he and his team have had has been tremendous, whether it's in population balance equations, PBEs, that really, really are the key to so many chemical and biochemical processes, or whether it's computational fluid modeling or cancer modeling. That sense of discovery and really improving things has really been the basis of everything that he and his team have done. It's been a pretty amazing career, and I wish I had taken that class. If you offer it again, I'll be there. Next fall, I forget what is 600 something. It was a 600 level class, I remember. But really, it's been pretty amazing. And as he just alluded to, the last chapter on this is not yet written. I'm sure Ramki has his grand challenge, work that he still got planned looking forward. But I also want to take the chance to thank Ramki and Geeta for their generosity in making this gift. It is an extraordinary gift, and what it really ensures is that mathematical modeling as an area in the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering will remain a pillar of excellence in the future. It's going to ensure that that journey that Ramki and his students have traveled with mathematical modeling and the insights that are gained from it, the critical thinking will continue for generations in the future. So please join me in thanking Ramki and Geeta. Thank you so much. And now it's my distinct honor. It is my distinct honor to introduce the leader of our great university, Dr. Meng Chiang.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. What an amazing dean of our great College of Engineering, an amazing head of the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering. Well, we're very fortunate to have these outstanding leaders, and we're very, very blessed to have Ramki, Geeta, your whole family with us here today. Today is Purdue Day of Giving, the annual 24 hours per year, but truly on every day. We are indebted with much gratitude to all those who provide a lot of support to excellence at scale. And I know that this was a gift that you made a year ago on the Day of Giving last year. But you know, we take this as an opportunity to say thank you, you and your whole family this year. And I cannot top what the great Johnny Everson, Dean of College of Engineering, just described, but I have to take about maybe 2 minutes as a detour because I don't get this opportunity on a daily basis anymore to talk about some engineering stuff. I used to pretend to be one, and now I've given that up. I just go to watch basketball games and go to budget meetings. Some are more enjoyable than the others, depending on the day. But so what you just said, and clearly what Ramki's outstanding scholarly excellence, pinnacle of excellence, has demonstrated throughout the past 40-plus years at Purdue, reminds me of my own time as a student. So I took a PDE course from a math professor by the name of Paul Cohen, who was a very famous, actually, fuse medalist who studied analysis as well as logic, and that's his fuse metal work. But he refused to teach PDE beyond the first 4 lectures and started just randomly talking about whatever he wanted to talk about that day. It was the most intellectually thrilling experience, but I did not have a solid foundation of PDE as a result of that. And then I took from statistics department as a grad student a stochastic PDE. It was just utterly confusing to my poor mind. One of my advisors, Tom Cover, who is electrical engineering and statistics, and so he looked at me with like, you know, yeah, this student is beyond help, you know, hopeless. So what you described reminds me of a debate I had with my 2 PhD advisors, Stephen Boyd, who's in optimization, and Tom Cover, who's in information theory. And Stephen Boyd is, both are just brilliant minds, as Ramki is. And Boyd's view is that, hey, if the numerical software solution solves it, it will be just fine. And it's all, you know, convergence as abstraction anyway. And if I don't understand how the software did it, the particular interior point pathway it took, so be it. That's all right with me. It just shows that human understanding and parameterization is of limited capacity. So that's his philosophical viewpoint. I might be characterizing him inaccurately if he's, you know, ever going to watch this video later and say, "Meng, that's not what I said." You know, so, but that's one viewpoint. Some people hold that viewpoint. And Tom Covers is very different. He says it got to be elegant, it got to be comprehensible, it got to be understood. And I like closed form, and I don't like this numerical thing. Well, the late Tom Cover now, so he cannot refute at this point, but he gave me this different understanding that if you don't understand it in a gut feeling and can prove it in the simplest way, then you haven't understood it at all. So that really gets back to that. I'm just poorly paraphrasing what the dean just said, essentially, that it's about training of the mind and seeing it. And people rumor that Tom Cover can see everything in 4 dimensions. I struggle with 2. So, and then if you don't see it, you know, so that's, I think, part of the intellectual beauty of what Ramke and what you represent as a branch of applied mathematics as well as chemical engineering, that there is beauty, and the beauty is powerful in what you do. We all hope our students, grad and undergrad students, will enjoy the intellectual vibrancy that you have gifted us with. And now compounding on that is this outstanding financial support and gift to all of us. So coming back to my regular hat these days, today I thank and I make phone calls to multiple donors, but it is not every phone call that I make I'll be thanking a fellow colleague, an intellectual giant, whose many more chapters are yet to be written here at Purdue. So thank you so much, Ramke, and I would like to invite you and Geetha to be upstage here. Thank you. Well, I would like to present, almost forgot my script, got carried away, the Distinguished Pinnacle Award for your sincere loyalty and commitment to Purdue University and its future by making an extraordinary leadership gift. This is really the proudest moment I can imagine to present this recognition to an intellectual giant walking among us. Thank you, Ramke. We'll take a pic. Who should we look?
All the way in the back.
Okay, all right, all the way in the back. The podium is yours.
Now that I've been properly flattered to the hilt by all three of them, starting with Travis and Arvind and Mung, I have to do something to say to you all, and I have to tell you that I really feel bad about having to read out of a prepared thing, but it is out of consideration for you, because if you leave me alone to talk freely, I'll never end it. I will get into I have a mortal fear of carrying on and on. So I don't want to subject you to a harangue. So my goal is to give you a brief background of my academic career that, among other things, has led to my desire to make a contribution to Purdue. I'm pleased to see that President Moon Chian and Dean Arvind Raman are here to celebrate with us this Day of Giving. Let me say at the outset something that's very clear to you already, that Sang Kim has exercised extraordinary leadership. Over the years, he has been head of our school. I view myself as having been incredibly lucky in my academic career. I don't know if I deserve that, but I've been very lucky. Starting as a graduate student in Minnesota in 1960, in the midst of Neil Amundsen's revolutionary role of influencing the chemical engineering profession through the introduction of mathematics and science, I could not have asked for a better beginning. After my graduation in April 1965, most of your parents weren't born then, in the midst of Neil Amundsen's role, okay, I served for 2 years on the Minnesota faculty as an assistant professor. During those 2 years, I delved into serious mathematics, which culminated in a book with Neil Amundsen on linear operators in chemical engineering several years later. I spent 7 exciting years at the Indian Institute of Technology at Kanpur, then the best of the IITs among passionate and ambitious colleagues, but even more importantly, with students like Rakesh Jain and Rakesh Agrawal, and many more actually have learned since many of them have become CEOs in this country. So it has been a great beginning academic career. I left IIT Kanpur on leave for a visiting appointment at the University of Wisconsin, where I had an outstanding association with several people: Ed Crosby, Warren Stewart, Ed Lightfoot, Bob Bird, and many others. It was followed by another visiting appointment at the University of Minnesota, a year that produced numerous publications with Neil Amundsen. I taught a course in linear operator methods in which we had students, some unbelievable students, some of the most outstanding academics around today, such as Greg and Miretta Stephanopoulos. Miretta has passed since then, unfortunately. Doug Laufenberger, Kyriakos Zigarakis, Brian Higgins, and more. My TA, you wouldn't believe, was Manfred Marari, who is widely known in the chemical engineering profession. I changed my mind about returning to IIT Kanpur and decided to stay in the US. My only application was to Purdue, where Lowell Koppel was shaking things up. He asked me to come over for a somewhat strange interview because it did not include a seminar to the faculty. Surprised, I asked him for an explanation, and he said that he had a policy of hiring only those who did not receive a negative vote from any of the senior faculty. I wasn't sure how to interpret that, but Lowell was determined to change the course of the school. He wanted mathematics, and so that's it. He hired anyone he liked. Such was the nature of leadership in those days. Clearly, this is another stroke of luck for me. I enjoyed the association with many colleagues, including Jim Carruthers, Nick Delgas, who has unfortunately passed. I miss him very much. Henry Lim, George Sau, Henry Lim has also unfortunately passed, and some who joined a bit later, such as Linda Wong, Elias Frances, and Osmond Bassaron. We had a highly collegiate atmosphere in the school. The collegiality at Purdue was unbelievable. We attended each other's lectures. I was sitting in John Morgan's metabolic engineering and persistently asked questions. I think John was getting a little irritated. You could see him. But I think I should say that you're lucky that you didn't have Jim Carruthers in your class. I had him for 2 of my courses, and he was sitting there asking questions every other time. It seemed like he was even doing the homework problems. So one time he said, I walked into class, he said, I got a question. I said, would you mind if I get started? Such was the collegiality. This is a fantastic place to be, I tell you. I had so much fun that I'm sorry that it's coming, kind of close to the end. I'm not sure yet, but okay. So a couple of times I got close to acquiring escape velocity from Purdue. But the school, primarily Jim, prevailed over me strongly enough to prevent my escape. It has been great going ever since. Ron Andrus, Rex Recolaitis, Arvind Varma, and Sang Kim have provided outstanding leadership to the school. We've been lucky to have such good heads. Purdue CHE is on a growth course to be the best in the country. I have no doubt about it. I've spent a little over 4.5 decades at Purdue, during which there have been 5 school heads who have been very supportive, nominating me for numerous awards. I have had my current position for nearly 30 years that have sustained my mathematical interests during a period of depleting funds for mathematical work in core areas. Much of what I've had to say today has been written about in an article about me in chemical engineering education by Arvind Varma and Phil Wonkat. I miss Phil Wonkat. He did send me a note saying that he was unfortunately not going to be able to attend. chemical engineering is a flourishing profession. Yet in 2021, I published an article with Richard Bratz in AICT Journal entitled "Wither Chemical Engineering," expressing concern about students dropping levels of mathematical understanding. This trend has come about because of excellent computational software. That's something that, Mung, you touched upon, that students have learned to use whether or not they are familiar with the underlying mathematics. This has been an increasing concern of mine, as of many others, and the donation, crafted with the help of my good friends Chris Dole and John Enright, is to establish an endowed professorship to perpetuate scholarship in the area of mathematical modeling. In this regard, I have had occasions to feel that President Chiang and Arvind Raman concur with the importance of analytical reasoning, as they clearly approved in their talks today. I've had wonderful students over the years. My first student at Purdue became a distinguished professor at the University of Delaware, Terry Papatsakis. And I've had many students have entered academia, they're doing really well, and they flatter me too. So I believe that the Davidson School of Chemical Engineering will always have outstanding faculty in mathematical modeling to qualify for such a professorship. We have outstanding young people in this department. I see no reason for us to be ranked by some rag magazine the way we are, but I can assure you we are climbing and we will be the best someday. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's just a great, great day. We're going to invite Dr. Kim up here to say a few more words. And after he's done, I'm going to then ask President Chang and Dean Raman to join them for one more quick photo. So, Dr. Kim, if you could say some closing remarks, and then we have one more task, so sit tight afterwards.
Okay, so I'm going to keep it really brief because we've had great speeches. So I think I can summarize the whole point of the celebration by saying that metric spaces are more important than metrics. Thank you.
Dr. Kim, if you could stay up here. And I want to invite Dean Raman and President Chang. We're going to do a quick photo. And then afterwards, we have a short task. I'm going to move this podium. We're good. Okay, we're going to and then we have the photographer in the back too.
Photographer in the back. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to wrap this up with a brief celebratory event to launch this research area. Mr. Arvind Ramkrishna is going to say a few short words. And so what I'd like you all to do is we're going to stand and quietly, so we can do this very quickly, we're going to make our way over to the research wall where you're going to see a lot of amazing accomplishments from Dr. Ramkrishna. So if you could make your way that way, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.